did not mean for that to start trying to play again. Hi, friends. Oh my God. Let me take those bad boys off. Hi, everyone. Hey, Donnie. Hey, Cherie. Hey, Margaret. Hey, hey. Oh, Cherie. Cherie said DNA has been collected. For a second, I thought that said DNA has been canceled. I was like, oh, God, what? Some big major trial has been canceled or what? Y'all, Brian Koberger's, the judge ruled and said the trial shall not be delayed. Yes! Hey, Hazel Eyes of 76. In case y'all didn't know that, that's Sweet Kill. She must be on her other account. Or she changed her name. I don't know. Good Fri-YAY evening. Absolutely. Are you at work, ma'am? Why has YouTube changed our names? You didn't do that to yours? Hey, Gail. What is that? What it's doing now is now instead of your username, it's doing the @ like whatever your handle is instead. That's weird. Hey you, how's it going? It's going. I will say I did not sleep well last night. I don't know why I could not sleep good last night. I think I finally fell asleep about 4 o'clock and then got up at 9 o'clock this morning. So I'm so tired. I had to go have blood work done. And I was going to do it yesterday, but I did not. Instead, I went today. And I think I gave our sweet Kel a coronary because I get a text message long after the fact. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, why? And then it dawned on me she has Life 360. And I was like, you saw that I was at the hospital, didn't you? And then I said I was just there for blood work. Now I'm at the Dollar Tree. I went to the Dollar Tree and spent some moolah. I love the Dollar Tree. I don't go often enough. I will tell you I'm upset though. We'll talk about it here in a second. Margaret's upset. She's up. Hi, Gail. Just making some pasta salad for our fun day of swimming tomorrow. Oh, that's right. You guys are having a pool day with the kiddos. That's sweet. There's Diamond Painting Damsel, otherwise known as Morgana or Gana. See, Gana does not come off the tip of the tongue easy for me. It just doesn't. I wanted to say Morgie, Morgan, or Morgie, and Morgana. That was your handle, but not your screen name, right? I don't want that. I don't know what the deal is. Spin says it's doing it to everybody. Right? Weird. It's doing it to everybody. Everybody. Let's see what it'll say when I type. Hold on. Hi. It'll probably say Crime Cafe Live. Yeah, see, they're at Crime Cafe Live. So it's using everybody's handles instead of their usernames. Who makes up these rules? I don't know. People will probably complain. Talk about complaining. Let me just say, today, since it's Friday, we're going to just have a little bit of a chit chat instead of we'll watch some stuff. I've got some stuff pulled up ready to rumble. But I wanted to, I will have you know that I told the girls, I said, I'm gonna, I'm kidding, Dollar Tree, so don't come for me. But I was like, I'm gonna sue them because there ain't nothing in there for $1 anymore. That is false advertisement. And so, yeah, I'm big mad because I went there specifically for storage containers that are always $1.25. Well, they used to always be $1. I could handle $1.25. But now the signs all over plastic storage ware, $1.50. Are you for real? No. Why are you called Dollar Tree? And I literally was typing, like, going to look on their website the other day. Allegedly, yeah. I'm allegedly going to do that. But anyway, that's a joke. That's a complete joke. Don't come for me. Any Dollar Tree, $1.25, $1.50. Shoot, now they even have in the snack food aisle, and nothing's $1.20. They got one little section that's $1.25 this big, and then the rest of the aisle is $3.50 for snacks. One little $1.25 section this big, and then the whole rest of the aisle is $3.50 for snacks. I was highly offended. Hold on, I gotta get my snacks. Hold on, let me get my snack. Where did I even put my snack? Hold on. Alright, I bought this trail mix. Sweet and salty trail mix. This was $1.25. Thank God. But the vast majority of it is sunflower seeds. I'm not mad at sunflower seeds, but they need to do better. Yeah, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Wait, where did they all go? I'm trying to organize my office space up over here, right? And can you all hear my fan? It's a rip out. It's a rip off. It's a rip out. Hold on. Hold on. So I bought a bunch of these. A bunch of just cute little storage containers, right? It's what I needed for my shelves to keep stuff nice and tidy. And I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of this. And then 3 more of one like it, but it's a little bit shaped differently. Anyway. Yeah. $1.50 each. $1.50 a piece. Hi, Brenda. Oh no, Cherie. What store's closing for good? Your mom had about 80 of those? Well, of course she did. Why wouldn't she? We used to go to the Dollar Tree on our way to the movies and grab snacks to stuff in our purses. We did the same thing. Literally, where we would go to the movies, the Dollar Tree was kind of on the other end of town, but we would still make the trek because, you know, you pay $1 for the same little box of Milk Duds at the Dollar Tree that you would pay $52 for at the movie theater. So we did the same thing. Did that all the time. And I still, if I was going to the movie theater, I would still do that. Huh? Brenda, all our names got changed. We have to reintroduce ourselves. Yeah, everybody's new. Rip out is what happens when your pants are too tight. Yeah, that's a fact. Mine's fixing to be too tight because I'm getting ready to tear into this bag of trail mix. Is what I'm gonna do. But I went to the Dollar Tree. Then I ran and stopped and got gas before I came home, and got home, and it was hotter than blue blazes outside. I was on the verge of dying. And anybody wants some trail mix? So, yeah, and there's going to be a bunch of raisins in here too. Rip out. That's such a rip out. I love trail mix. I love peanuts. But I could have spent $1.25 for 3 cashews. The bag that had 3 cashews in it. That was a no. So, I'm just griping. Griping. So, my name gets changed. My pants get picked on. Nope. My coffee's fresh. All right. Hi, Donnie. I'm just sitting here eating Rip Out trail mix. I know, Spins, right? All right, so stuff. The judge said no delay in Brian Koberger. That's awesome, right? And then I found a. Margaret said, my pants are fine. From her explosive gas. You guys are cracking me up. I know. We should all say rip out from now on. I'm going to go to the Dollar Tree and I'm going to go to that $3.50 snack aisle that's got this much space of $1.25 snacks in it. And I'm going to say, this is a rip out. Margaret does not have explosive gas today. I can't say nothing. We had White Castles the other day, so y'all know what White Castles do to you. So, that's what my mom and dad used to say. That's funny. Do it and make a video of it, right? They'll throw me out on my head. I'll say, I'm going to sue you anyway. Y'all are a bunch of false advertisers. It says Dollar Tree and nothing in here is $1. Can't find one thing that's $1 in this daggone store. Well, maybe a card. But are the greeting cards even $1 anymore? Or are they $1.25? It's a rip out. So if you say it, think of Margaret's mom and dad. Allegedly. Morgana's trying to keep me in check here. I had a pregnant woman in my house today and she had... Oh, no, Donnie. Why did you have a pregnant woman in your house today? Who was she? And why did she have massive gas? That's so random. I need to know the context surrounding that sentence. I need to know the context. Who was this pregnant woman? Why was she in your house? And why did she have massive gas? I have questions. She just wandered in and let it rip. Morgana said I look like a pregnant woman with no gas. From Home Depot. Okay. And how did you know did she tell you? I'm sorry. Can you all see the dog moving in the crack? My dog is like fluffing blankets right now, trying to get under it. Can you see that? That's Poppy. If my sister in law is ever pregnant, I don't want to be around her. She already has horrible gas. Hey, C. Morales. She is. She's in there fluffing up her bed. Measuring for a new stovetop. Okay. Makes sense. But again, how did you know that she had gas? Did she just tell you? Like, I'm so sorry. I'm pregnant. And Jenny has a dog in her crack. That's not good customer service, right? Gail said I had an MRI last week, and when the young man was helping me up, I tooted. I could have died. Oh, no, Gail. That's the worst. Mm-mm-mm. Did you just say, I'm sorry? So sorry. They hear that all the time, right? Margaret's disguised herself as a pregnant woman. Oh, gross, Spins. Ew. Ick. She then peed a little. She kept apologizing. I felt so bad. God love. She then peed. I can understand the peeing a little because I did that when I was pregnant. I still do it now after having kids, yeah. And you do not have to have children the normal, natural way. You can have C-sections and still have bladder issues after you give birth. Just letting you know. I've heard people say, oh, well, you only can have problems if you had one naturally. That's not true. You don't only have that. That's not how it works. Um, right, C. Morales? It's not. They're not. It's not the same. Gail said, I said, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Steven thought it was the funniest thing ever and brings it up at least once a day. Well, I mean, I can't blame him. I would too. Her third and last. He's her first boy and he is sitting differently. Aww. God love. No pregnant woman has a normal bladder. That's a fact. Mom had 3 of us and we kept getting bigger, so she had very little bladder control. I'm telling you what. Thank God for pads and panty liners, right? Right, ladies? I pee a little all the time. I'm telling you. Thank God for Stay Free and Carefree. Or whatever y'all use. I was the biggest of 3, almost 9 dang pounds. Daggone, Margaret. Lord have mercy. My niece had a big baby. My niece, she had her first was, I think, over 9 pounds. And me, I had 2 itty bitty babies at full term. Both were itty bitty babies. So true. My daughter was born C-section and I still have, yep. True story. Paisley ran out of the room. You got nervous and gave her banana bread? Here, honey, have some banana bread. Oh my God. I bet she was like, nom, 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 nom. All right. Let's take a look real quick. Well, it's not going to be real quick, but we were talking about the Jack and Lily Sullivan from Nova Scotia that are still missing. And I thought this was interesting. You guys know I love the behavior panel, right? Sometimes I feel like they get it wrong. Or sometimes I feel like they just quickly see things and don't get the like nitty gritty details. Like I feel like they missed a lot in their video about Richard Allen. I feel like they didn't really know all the details, right? And I've noticed that before with other people that I've watched them do. They're really good. I love these guys. They're great at what they do. I just feel like sometimes it's kind of like we say about Nancy Grace, you know? She don't get it right every time. And that's I kind of feel that way about these guys, but I have not watched this, so I don't know what they're going to say. I thought we would watch it together. It looks like it came out yesterday. But it's about the stepdad. Let me. No one has gas. Continue. Morgana has been redacted. Goodbye. Let me share this screen. This one. All right. All right. So, this is the behavior panel. You guys know I love these guys. You guys know I love these guys. Stupid YouTube. Morgana has been timed out. Can you all hear my fan? Tell me if you can hear my fan. I just want to make sure it's not annoying. I was literally falling asleep sitting in the waiting room. Oh, did you say that? No, I didn't catch that. Spin says yes, you can hear it. That's why I watch The Lawyer, you know, because even if I don't agree, who cares? He is so easy on the eyes, right? Okay, you can hear it, but it's not annoying. Okay. Thank goodness, because I did not want to have to turn it off. No, but I do hear the dog in your crack. Get out of here. I don't think you can see her or hear her now because she scooped up her blanket and now she's probably under it nice and comfy and cozy. Morgana. All right, let's watch this and see what they think about the stepdad. I'm eager to see what they say. There's been a lot of rigmarole about the stepdad and the mom. I mean, there has been ever since the very beginning, but things are starting to, like I heard there was some man that says he knows that the kids are alive. Apparently he knows, I don't know who a cousin or an uncle, I don't know who he is to the mom, but he says he knows through a certain source that she dropped the kids at the end of the driveway and somebody has them, but she knows who has them. And so I have no idea. I have zero idea if any of that is true. I've heard some different stuff. Yeah, Brenda, right? Thank you, Morgana. Yeah, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I just don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to like say anything is true whenever it's not been confirmed, right? So I'm not going to, you can take that kind of stuff with a whole bag of salt, right? Not just a grain of salt, but a whole bag of salt. So they've been missing. It's been 2 months or longer now, Donnie. Yeah, 2 months or longer. All right, so I'm eager to see what the behavior guys think. Let's take a look at this and see.
Today we're going to talk about Daniel Martell. Now, there are two little children missing in Nova Scotia, and he's their stepfather. Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
Yeah, Canadian siblings Lily Sullivan and Jack Sullivan, 6 and 4, disappeared from their rural home in Nova Scotia on May 2nd. There's been a lot of searches, a lot of things going on. This guy's done a lot of interviews in front of the camera, many of them very small and very short. This is about a 12-minute video we're going to watch that's been cut up into pieces with the pertinent pieces here.
It's been 6 weeks now since you've seen Lily and Jack. I just want to ask, how are you holding up?
It's been a long 6 weeks. I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know like what happened. It's been from sadness to anger at this point. And I know the RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock trying to piece everything together, and I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question, 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the woods. And where are they?
Did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you?
Of course. The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning.
You felt that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you don't feel that now?
No, I don't feel that at all. I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them I do drug tests because there's a lot of rumors online about a drug party. Mm-hmm. I know the person that said those rumors, and it was just to take the heat off themselves.
Was there any kind of party?
No.
Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party?
No.
There were no people at the house?
No, not the night before.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so kind of grand scheme of things, let's start off with this because it runs through the whole of it. There is quite a low energy level from this person, and there's kids missing, and you might say to yourself, well, hang on, where's the urgency around this? Where's the energy for it? But knowing something of Nova Scotia and the culture and the energy levels there, my wife's family are all of that side of the family are from back in Nova Scotia. And he is from a very small area of Nova Scotia, and it is very low key. It's very slow. It's very, very gentle, very, very lovely, pleasant people, but slow and gentle. I mean, even in their biggest city, it's slow and it's gentle. So that energy level doesn't surprise me in this particularly. Sadness to anger, he says. And so that's potentially a grief cycle. Or at least, he names that very, very well. The frustration, the irritation, the anxiety that can come with the anger part of that grief cycle. So that stacks up as a positive for him. He may well be in grief, and he's describing that. There's some lip compressions. The RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock. Lip compression on that, potentially withheld opinion about that. And 6 weeks have gone by, and there's some lip compression around that. So is he holding back a viewpoint maybe on this is taking too long, they're not doing enough? It's a possibility there, especially because if he has moved from sadness to anger, that could suggest a frustration, an irritation with how slowly this might be going. And again, in his favor, he's looking for answers somewhat, and he's happy to get himself checked out with this polygraph that they talk about. So he's not saying that, well, he's done it. He's got that done. So he's getting involved. He's relatively positive about getting involved. So in many ways, there's a lot going for him on this one. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I actually agree. He's calm. His ankles are crossed. And Mark actually taught me this. We were at a bar, I think, when you taught me this, which makes it harder to stand. And him getting in a position where it's harder to stand up means that there's likely more comfort there. His blink rate through the whole clip here is steady. There's some small fidgeting. It's probably more likely due to cameras than guilt. There's some protein buildup in the mouth with some white stuff you'll see in his lips. Greg's gonna definitely talk about this. Greg worked at the world's #1 stress laboratory, and there's some protein there. But people might see the hands on his lap as genital protection. It's not. When we call those things out, it's important to note the first C of the 5 C's, which is change. His behavior is essentially baseline here in this position. We don't also see wrist protection or hand tightness or rigidity in the lower body. So the legs are calm and relaxed. Keep in mind, we're analyzing his responses to specific questions here. Somebody who's guilty isn't going to just off gas a bunch of behavior regardless of the situation. There are a few factors that matter in whether we're going to see relevant behavior in a situation. So there's essentially 7 things that matter if we're going to see something relevant. So we have perceived stakes, how the person sees the stakes, the intent of the question, maybe it's trap or a neutral one or rapport building. There's some personal relevance, which would be the 3rd. The 4th would be social pressure. And 5th is expectation of judgment. 6 would be narrative control, like who's steering the conversation. 7 would be timing. We're seeing something big in timing, which is we might see early self-monitoring versus a lot of late stage fatigue and leakage there. And we're not seeing a lot of that. So looks pretty good here. The mainstream media is not broken at all. It is functioning exactly as it was designed. It exists to manipulate you, to divide you, to feed you fear and outrage and distraction while pretending all of that is information. And most people are still swallowing it like it's gospel. I've spent years studying propaganda and psychological operations and human behavior, and I will tell you this plainly. The media is not here to tell you the truth. It's here to shape your truth without you even realizing it. Every network, every outlet, left or right or center, they are all playing the exact same game. Keep you emotionally hijacked, cognitively blind, and addicted to narratives engineered by people who have zero interest in informing you at all.
I have no idea what this rant is about. It's a sponsored post. That's what it is. It for ground news something, I don't know.
Talk about the children without crying. A plea for deep is what?
Being the depth of what is actually going on. Scott, what do you got?
All right, when I see something like this, the first thing I think of when I look at pretty much anything is what's missing. And what's missing from here is grief, sadness, stress, the widened eyes, deep breathing, like scanning around the room, teary eyes, wringing hands, concern in the brow, not being able to talk about the children without crying, a plea for help to find the children, an adrenaline spike when panic sets in, when he realizes again what's happening. We're not seeing that. The things we are seeing is he's relaxed. This cat is laid back. He leaned back in the chair. His eyes are really clear. So is his voice. He doesn't look disheveled. He doesn't look worried. There's no body language or behavior here that tells us this person is under a tremendous amount of stress. He may be psychologically, but for some reason it's not showing. But it's not showing if he is, which doesn't mean he's either innocent or guilty at this point. You just see that and go, that's what's missing, and here's what we're seeing. So at the beginning, we're seeing him adapting a little bit with that thumb on his hand like that. Not a whole lot. That's how he's getting rid of some of that built up stress and tension. And then sometimes, depending on what's happening, like when he says it's been a long 6 weeks, that's when his legs tighten up a little bit and his feet kind of scooch around a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. So that suggests discomfort there. Now, something's odd to me when he says everybody basically in the world at this point wanted to know what happened, like it's over and already happened. So I think he sees that whatever is going on has already happened and is complete part of it, which would be the kids
Hey, QB.
are not with us anymore. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. It looks like he's accepted that. And then he's the one that asked for the polygraph test for the lie detector test. That doesn't happen that often. The person going in doesn't say, "Hey, give me a lie detector test. Here's my phone. Here's all my stuff." So that's a lot. I'll get a little while later. And you can see it as one way. So that's somebody that's guilty because they want to go ahead and get that over with and get all that stuff started.
So, I mean, from the get go, they seem to feel like the dude's okay. But, I mean, we're only 10 minutes into it, right? I don't know.
That's one way to look at that stuff. But then there's that smiling. Well, when she asked about a party being in his house the night before, he says it didn't happen that night, and we see a little bit of smile on his face. So I don't think that's Duper's delight in there. I think a lot of people may think that might be, but I don't think that's what it is because it didn't show up like it usually does when we see Duper's delight. So this one's really different for me. It's really we're seeing things we should.
It didn't show up as it should.
Because quite often, yeah. So, oh man, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, a few things. Chase, I think I'll start off by talking about the protein buildup. It's because you mentioned it. Yeah, when we grab people, when you're pushing these people through the level of stress we do at SEER, you'll see their bodies start to scavenge all their mucous membranes, and you see protein buildup in the corners of their mouth. That's from high duress. You don't see it very often in your life. Likely, most people will never see it, but it's really common in people that are going through that whole program. So we'd see it build up as indicators of stress. Another one, Mark, I'm going to jump ahead into pieces back and forth that tie off to what you guys are talking about.
Wow, Kel. So I guess that's good news for you, huh? Bad news for her. Wow. No, she didn't anyway. You know what happened today. Wait, what? What are y'all talking about? What are you talking about? Who forget somebody? QB. YouTube doing updates or something. They're using everybody's handles instead of usernames. Oh, you were trying to glaze over Morgana. Okay. And I'm just sitting over here eating my $1.25 trail mix. It's the only thing in the store that was $1.25. Everything else was $1.50 and $2 and $5 and $3. It was the only thing in the store that was $1.25. Rip out trail mix, man. It was such a rip out.
I agree with you. I see frustration. And where I see that frustration is when he's asked about being a suspect. Agitation rises. And what we see is respiration change. Listen to it. You can hear it. Concern or frustration, something in his brow right there. It's knotted right here. He doesn't use his brow a lot, but right in these muscles, you can see a lot. But there's no grief in the brow. There's no grief in the chin. So that tells me it's probably more like frustration. And then he withdraws his lips like that. And he's either moistening his lips for appearance or it's a request for approval of some kind. It doesn't show stress. His pupils don't show any dilation. His respiration doesn't go through the roof, but his breathing changes when he's asked that one question. He also chaffs. This is a good indicator. When a person chaffs as part of their nature and tells you about something that happened, but doesn't try to redirect the conversation. He's just rattling off things that happened. The one piece that I wish would have been explored a little bit is that not last night, not the night before, because that's an abandoned statement that I cut. There's nothing after that tied to this question. So the reason I cut the video there is because it's like, that's frustrating as hell. There's another thing, Chase, you talk about 7. There's a lens that all those 7 are taken through, and we have to all be careful. We all are. We talk about this all the time. We look for patterns, not how we feel. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is assuming the person sitting across the table from you feels the same way you do, or understands things the same way you do, or has the right neurological programming. I think we may have something here that I'll show you why as we go through, but I think we may have a divergent neurotype here. And I think that's part of the reason, not the slow speaking and all that, but we're going to see other really good indicators from people I've worked with in the past. But he does have no illustrators. He's locked down. He's crossed, but it's consistent. We think of that as a baseline. I think he came here with some talking points, and we can look for that when he delivers those, because he's awkward in the way he does it. He goes to a slow cadence. At this point, 6 weeks have gone by, followed by lip compression. I think that's where the frustration starts, Mark. And then we know they're not in the woods. And where are they? That's a list of things. You don't string things together with and. You would say so if it was a normal conversation, which is why I think he came here to say certain things. We'll pay attention to see if we see more of that. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't see a lot of anything I would call deception. We talk about pupil dilation. We talk about stress. So stress can come from lots of things. Stress can lead up to going in there. And many of you people that are watching, you have trouble with public speaking or a test or something else. And you ramp that stress up, even though it's not really caused by the event, it's caused by apprehension going into it. Could be the same thing here. We could see all that stress from this. We could also see stress from an altercation with family. We can't read that. But what we don't see here is a lot of reaction. We don't see pupil dilation, a lot of blink rate, eye lock, any of that. It looks normal cadence, normal speech.
And you know what else? His sentences aren't structured for prepared answers. So I agree with you on that.
Here's an interesting one for you guys. Sadie and I Sadie has a great channel, guys. If you haven't gone there, go check out Sadie's channel. And we were talking one day, and there was a single short interview with this guy where I was suspicious of him, really suspicious of him. This video is much different than what you see in that first interview with him. So it's always good to get long form so we get more input. But go check Sadie's channel out and see what she's got there.
Where do you look at? Where is it?
Sadie Prime Minister Behavior on YouTube.
Okay.
It's been 6 weeks now since you've seen Lily and Jack. I just want to ask, how are you holding up?
It's been a long 6 weeks. I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know what happened. It's been from sadness to anger at this point. And I know the RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock trying to piece everything together, and I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question, 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the woods. And where are they?
Did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you?
Of course. The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning.
You felt that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you don't feel that now?
No, I don't feel that at all. I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them do drug tests, because there's a lot of rumors online about a drug party. Mm-hmm. I know the person that said those rumors, and it was just to take the heat off themselves.
Was there any kind of party?
No.
Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party?
No.
There were no people at the house?
No. Not the night before.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, they did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, yep, great, thank you, come in for a polygraph test.
Yeah, it took a little while to set up. And
when did you do that test?
I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I think most Canadians wouldn't have any idea what's involved with that. Can you describe the process? You go in and just tell us right from the start.
We go in, sit down in a big comfy chair, and they have multiple sensory pads. You have them underneath your forearms. You have them underneath your butt, and you have them underneath your feet with your shoes off. You have a sweat gland on one finger. You have a measuring instrument for blood flow that goes in and out of your hand. And you have a cuff on your arm for blood pressure to measure your pulse.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them. Just, it's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof, and your body doesn't know what to do, because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive.
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere?
Wow.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So we talk a lot about eye movement, eye access.
Like, that tells me that the police believe that they're deceased. I mean, you know? Watch it once without their input, and then yeah, they always do that. It's repetitive, but it gives good. I like that they do that, because like that, when you, after they give their input, then you can see it from their perspective versus your own perspective when you see it the first time. And when you see it from their perspective, you're like, oh, okay, well, and they're the professionals at this, you know what I mean? So it's really cool. What happened to my volume? You can't hear me? You can't hear me? Can you hear me? Sound weird. Hold on. How about now? How about now? Is it better now? I don't know. It switched. For whatever reason, it switched from my Shure mic to the computer microphone. It does that. It's been doing that randomly. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's really getting on my nerves. What I was saying was that when you watch it the first time around, you're watching it and then you have your own perspective based on what you're seeing, right? Then when you watch it the second time, then you're like, okay, because you're getting it from their perspective and they're the professionals, you know? So it's really cool. I like that they do that. Kale's like, my ears. Here, let me turn it down a little bit. Is this better? Okay, we'll go.
Processing cues and about internal dialogue. This is one of the single best internal dialogue indicators I've seen. When we say that, we typically mean a person's looking down into their left. When he's asked the question about the date, watch him trying to figure out, okay, and I can't tell you what he's thinking, but that was the day I went here and here and here. And so he comes up with a date as he's figuring that out. He's rifling likely through a series of events that would tie it back for him. That we see in a lot of people when we ask a hard question that they should know the answer to, where were you Tuesday? And they go, that's a different story. This is about a person who's trying to give you real facts. This is the beginning of when I start to say, this guy may be neurodivergent. You ask a hard question, there's only a way that he knows how to process the data, and he's going to hand it back to you in a different way than you perceive it, which means you need to question him very differently. And we're going to see, while this woman does a pretty good job of questioning, there's some missed opportunity there because she's not taking into account how this thing works. The other interesting piece, he shows the same level of concern when he's asked that as he did when he was talking about being a suspect. A little bit of wrinkling in the brow, not a whole lot. Then he gets to how pure facts work and how the actual poly works. Watch his hands come up. He gets animated. Fact-based answers, lots of animation. Complex concepts, not much animation. Has to rifle through and figure out what it means, works through it. But you can see him raise his hands, start to illustrate, but that when punctuating your brain's thoughts with your body, your hands, some item or that. And all those barriers, those closed up things we were talking about are gone. Remember, I say if you've got 5 pieces of body language, and those are gestures, illustrators, regulators, adapters, and barriers, those adapters and barriers start outnumbering the other stuff, it probably means you need to pay close attention. But this guy does it as a baseline, and I think we're okay. These concepts are giving him a hard time. That tongue jut out of his mouth at the first question that they ask him is a little awkward. It would cause me great concern if he didn't follow with it pretty quickly, because he holds his tongue out of his mouth, not just a rejection tongue jut. Desmond Morris said was baby's first no. She should have asked a follow-up question here, in my opinion, because when he said the first question was, did you kill them? He didn't answer it. I would have said, so did you? But that's not exactly the way most people behave. And here's how I know that the guy is not neurotypical or does not fit the standard model. When she asks him a question about how he felt, what does he say? I would say, I was angry. I was enraged. I felt hormones rolling over me. I felt chemicals rolling. He answers in a very literal way. And a lot of people who are not neurotypical will answer the question they think you're asking with no concept of what you really meant by the question. That's the beginning of it for me. He doesn't answer with indignation. I was madder than hell. He just says, hey, I had these chemicals. And then she says, then when she goes into the second question, she didn't follow up either. So this guy gets past both of those, but I don't think he's doing anything out of the norm. I think it shows us insight into how his brain works, that he is going to answer a question a physical way rather than saying, I felt like this, I was angry, I've been this. And we'll find later the right question gets the right answer. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, really interesting, Greg. He seems very much in a world of things rather than feelings. I agree. He gets super animated on the polygraph stuff, and great illustrators. Like he's taking us through the whole thing. It's better the description of a polygraph than I've ever had from anybody, I think. You know, there's sensors I've not heard other people describe there. So it's like, oh wow, you really paid attention to this.
And seems probably like asked questions because he knew names for things.
Totally. I think he was very involved with it, and very interested in it. Interested in the tech and the process in the same way that he's interested in the process of sadness to anger, but we're not seeing the sadness or the anger, but he's interested in the process and the delineation between the things. So great baton gestures, which are the gestures that conduct along to the rhythm of the speech, as Scott would say, specific words and phrases, is a great way of saying it. We get good baton gestures from him. So his body and mind are very much in alignment. Hard to do that when you're making stuff up. And listen, why would he make this stuff up? So this is really a baseline of what kind of person have we got here? Somebody who enjoys the tech, enjoys the world of things, isn't quite so much engaged in the world of feelings. Chase, to your point, no change in those feet, radically, still crossed. It would take him at least 1, 2, 4 moves to get up, to, you know, from that. So he's pretty relaxed. He's pretty calm in this situation. And you might go, okay, but why be so relaxed and calm? The kids are missing. Well,
I don't know. That's pretty cool too about the legs being crossed. And I never really understood what that meant because I kind of think of it as like when someone sits with their arms crossed, that means that they're defensive, right? I thought that was the same thing with the legs, but like and I guess it kind of is, but like he just said, it's one, uncross your legs, lean forward. He said you'd have to do so many moves before you actually could get up, which means he was comfortable and not nervous. He wasn't like in a fight or flight sort of stance. I guess that's pretty cool, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't help but think that this dude knows something. If he didn't have anything to do with whatever happened, I wonder if he knows something, or does the mom completely have him snowballed? I don't know.
6 weeks into it, he's maybe more a things person than a feeling person. He's from Nova Scotia. That might have some aspect to it. So there could be, and we don't know his relationship with the kids. We know he has more kids, but we're kind of predicting, well, if you have kids, you always feel the maximum amount of emotion for all of the kids that you have any relationship with. Well, maybe not all of them, maybe none of them, perhaps. I don't know his relationship with the kids. We're just going, well, a good person, a good father would have the best possible relationship with all kids, but that's not life. This just doesn't work like that necessarily. I mean, great if you're a father and you do have a brilliant relationship with absolutely all of your kids within a blended family. Absolutely. But wow, tough, hard to do. Hard to do. Anybody who's in that kind of relationship situation, my hat is always off to them. I'm like, wow, that's real dedication. That's a real choice to go, I'm going to make the best of this relationship. You don't necessarily fall into that. That's a choice that you make. There's an eye change and a pause around, are you accessory? This is a question he was asked. Are you accessory to, then pause, eye change, the murder of Lily and Jay? So it feels like he has to reach and search for the framing that he was given. It doesn't seem like it's a framing that naturally comes to him. So even with that, I kind of feel that he's having to use somebody else's framing. I'm wondering whether he thinks the kids have been murdered in some way. That's a framing that he's been given. He has to search for it again and deliver it. He doesn't feel that comfortable. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Scott, what do you got on this one?
Let me ask you something first, Mark. If this guy's from Nova Scotia, what do you call him? Like if you're from Ireland, you're Irish. This guy's whatever would you call him?
Nova Scotian.
Nova
okay.
Scotia.
I don't think there's any short. I can't think. Well, right, Nova Scotians. Hello, Nova Scotians. I know we have some out there. I definitely know we have quite a few out there actually who watch the show.
Yep.
Put down below whatever the shortened. For example, if you're from Newfoundland, you'd be a Newfie. If you're from Ontario, you're just an Ontarian. So I don't know whether there is a short one. Nothing comes to
we can
mind.
come up with
Looks like
one.
beautiful country, man, from the pictures. Somewhere I'd love to live. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, beautiful.
All right. Okay, sorry. So when he
They
says
got
that
off
unfolded in
topic
my
there.
favor, he lets out this big breath of relaxation. So that he's got some stress happening there, but I can't tell if that stress is from that bothering him, or it's the stress is building up because he's afraid that's been put on him, in other words. So then he says, yeah, I was extremely nervous. Then he smiles. I think that's a nervous smile. I don't think that's, again, Duper's delight in there at all. And a lot of times we see it, like when he had that tongue come out, we see the tongue between the teeth, which it does have a little bit there. That suggests that we got away with something. We see somebody do that. They've done a prank on somebody, or they've taken something, they're goofing with them. But here it's mostly his lips touching his tongue when he does that. So that could go a couple of different ways. Go back to the Desmond Morris way that you were talking about, Greg. It could go, I'm getting away with something, but I don't feel like this cat is getting away with anything right now. Anyway, I don't feel like that. So that was really interesting for me. It may just be a nervous tick of his because he's licking his lips and stuff all the time in here. So, but we do see a nostril flare. We hear fading facts after he tells her what the first question was, which was, did you kill the children? And then the is the fading facts part. But it's not the fading facts part where you're being deceptive, where you give an entire answer and it keeps getting quieter toward the end like that. It's just that one word going, like that, because as he's thinking about it, it bothers him, not because he's being deceptive about it, but he hates that coming out of him agreeing with that or saying yes or addressing that situation at all. That probably bothers him. His blink rate's almost gone. And his eyes are real wide. And he does that classic looking at the person asking the question after he's answered to make sure they believe him. But I think it's to make sure he's being accepted, or that the question landed right, or the answer landed right with her. Not that he's waiting to see if she believes him or not. I'm starting to go with you, Greg, on this. You and Mark. I think there might be something up. Yeah, shoot, maybe you too, Chase. But I think maybe everybody said that. There may be something up here from a personality type situation. So then when he talks about the release of chemicals and talking about his feelings and all that, you could look at that two ways and say, well, he's feeling the rush for his limbic system. But then again, you could say, like you were saying, Greg, he's looking at it from an analytical position and saying, well, here's what happens when you're asked a question like that, or when I was. That's the way it was for me. Because he doesn't say brain, he says mind. He said he didn't say it happened in his brain, because we talk about the limbic system and things and chemicals and things. We talk about the brain, but he talks about the mind. Two completely different things. The mind housed in the brain.
He may not know.
Right. I was going to say, you assume that. One thing I've learned about people who have like somewhere on the autism spectrum is if you tell a story, they tell.
Hey, Miss Dottie Diva. Good evening. I know it's you, Billy, but yeah, Walmart. Why did I say Walmart? Why did I say Walmart? YouTube is doing the most right now. And they have everybody's usernames now, instead of their username, is their @ handle. So anyway, because YouTube is Walmart. At least right now it is. Oh, well. Anyway. Hello, Billy.
Tell a story similar, and they're not trying to one up you. They're trying to internalize it and turn it into something, feed it back to you, so you can see they understand. Very different mindset than you would know if nobody taught you that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll leave it with that. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this one clip is an example of us coming at this thing from 4 different angles, which is great. I think this is astonishing. And let me start with a caveat. I'm not a licensed polygraph examiner, but I do own and operate 2 professional grade polygraph systems. And the systems that I own are proven to be over 90% accurate. They included a lot of advanced metrics like EEG and brainwave mapping and something called pupillometry, which is the micro pupil measurements, down to, I think, the 100th of a millimeter. So while I'm not certified under some standard law enforcement protocol, I'm not speaking from ignorance either. With that said, what's being described in this clip, if it's true, is idiotic, stupid, The subject says he was given a polygraph and that the first question asked was, "Did you kill the kids?" Not only is that an absurd question to open with, it flies in the face of every basic principle of polygraph procedure. Any examiner with minimal training knows you begin with some control questions, neutral, verifiable, emotionally irrelevant. We establish some kind of baseline. And I think even more revealing than that was the subject, this guy, says all the questions were about the kids being dead and not missing. That frames the entire polygraph examination around an assumption of death, not disappearance. And what this does, it anchors that guy into a conclusion that he might not share, which makes him pass the test. And it's not just crappy interviewing, it's potentially contaminating the entire investigation. So if this is really, and maybe it's not, but if this is how law enforcement ran the test, they not only compromised the results, they showed the subject.
Donnie, he said that was the first question. I don't know if these guys have like confirmed that. I don't know if like the there's a transcript of that out somewhere. I mean, maybe they're just completely going off of what Daniel Martell is saying. I have no idea, you know. It's a good question though. Hmm.
This guy their entire hand and possibly gave him a roadmap for denial. This is not how you run an interrogation, and it's sure as hell not how you run a polygraph. And right after he says, "I was nervous," especially around the first question they asked, which was, "Did you kill Lily and Jack?" We get that kind of behavioral spike. And first there's fidgeting, and it's not casual. It's like a pressure release valve. The system's dumping this tension out, and the second that this thing gets airtime, and I don't think it's air, I don't think it's recall. I think he's reliving this, and we see that stress. Then we see a tongue jut. And this is a classic rejection or regret cue here, and it lands after the quote, which matters. He's not rejecting the memory; he's reacting to his own words, and that's called post-statement leakage, and it's gold right here. It's perfect, textbook. And then the almost sort of lip licking that's going on. His body wants to self-soothe, but I think he cuts it off. I'm not sure. But there's definitely some internal conflict. But if you put all this together, this trio might look like some kind of confirmation of guilt. I don't think it is. But I do think it's a strong congruence cluster for some kind of internal conflict around the statement, that question that he got asked. That's all I got.
I was thinking about that too for the polygraph, but I'm thinking maybe what they did was, since he's thinking the way he is in an analytical fashion, when they ask questions, "So where are you from? What's your name?" You go through the basics you go through, and you sort of talk to him for a little while. Then they may have messed up and said, "All right."
So, Donnie, they do that. From what I have gathered, is they always go through the questions and then they do get a baseline, but apparently they get that baseline in the first round of questions that they ask. But that's not like whenever they are how do I want to say it? Like for instance, um, what was it we were watching? There was one that we were watching, and the guy. Who was it? Oh, I'm trying to think who it was that was. We watched them do a polygraph on him, and I can't remember now who it was. And it was a female officer, and she was like being horrible. But I can't remember. We were all like, "Oh my God, that woman is crazy pants," and I can't remember who it was that was being polygraphed. Who was that? We watched it on the channel. Oh, I remember. It was uh Melody Ferris's son. Remember? It was the one that everybody thought had something to do with the dad's death. It was him. I can't remember his name. The burn pit, yes. It was the son. No, not the Pop-Tart girl. No. This was the guy. It was Melody Ferris's son. Ferris wheel. Yeah. That's who it was. But remember how they kind of went through all of that? Scott. Thank you, Scott Ferris. But remember how she kind of like got a baseline of all of his stuff, and then she's like, okay, now the test is, you know, I need you to lie on one of them so I can get a baseline, and he screwed it up the first time and she flipped out, you know. But that's what they do. And then they're like, okay, now is the actual legit polygraph test starting now. And then they get it. They start that. So I'm assuming that they did all of that with him as well. That was terrible. She was horrendous, man. Jeez. She yelled, yes, Donnie. Donnie's like, okay, peace out. I'm out. Donnie, don't do yelling. Donnie, don't do yelling. Okay, here we go.
All right, well, let's get started. They wouldn't say that, but maybe he got a feeling they got started when they asked that question.
Maybe. But if they still centered it around them being dead, idiots.
That's true.
Yeah. It's
Sorry.
a bad framing, which is why I wonder that, you know, his what seems to be his issue for me in not being able to want to frame it in that way, that he's rejecting that framing. My assumption was, because I got the same sense, it's like, why are they starting with that question?
Right.
My assumption is he doesn't remember that bit. He didn't even know that was part of it.
Exactly.
And
know?
people that show
It's an
this
assumption.
people that show this level of stress over an interview, remember, limbic thought is going to take over their thinking brain, and their ability to recall the actual details is going to be very difficult, because it was high duress that put that protein buildup in Ops guy's mouth. It was not, you know, casual, call you a name, poke you a little bit. It was really, really aggressive stuff.
What do you guys think about this woman as a questioner?
Let's wait until the next video when we really see it.
I know, but I was going to find out now before that showed up, so everybody watching could get ready for it and not realize it. And thanks for ruining my setup, Chase. I forgot we weren't friends.
She's showing genuine interest in here.
I
But
think
she
so too.
appears to be interested, which is a good sign so far.
I think a whole lot of people want to know what happened in this case. I mean, this is a big deal in Nova Scotia, for sure.
One thing I thought was great about her.
Can y'all hear me? Billy said, I have a hard time hearing you, Jenny. I hear these guys just fine. Computer and headphones are turned up. I went and checked. It's still on the right microphone. It did that earlier. Are you sure you're not behind, Billy? Maybe Billy's behind and in that section where you all couldn't hear me. It says it's on my Shure MV7 mic, so it should be good right now. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me okay, Billy? A lot of times if I try to talk while the video's playing, they drown me out. So that's why I like pause to talk. The only way that I can like be level with their volume is if I turn their volume down about halfway. I can hear you just soft now. I hear you okay. Okay. It's YouTube's fault. Okay. Well, my volume is turned up down here too, so. Eh.
Her though is once she asks a question, she zips it, doesn't say anything, and lets him keep talking. That's so rare, especially if you're doing a TV interview, because they want to be out, they want to be asking questions that'd be fun. And it's not all camera on her the whole time. It's mostly him or both of them.
The camera's great. I love the camera.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's set up great.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, it did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, "Yep, great, thank you. Come in
Yeah.
for a polygraph test."
Yeah, it took a little while to set up, and
When did you do that test?
I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I think most Canadians wouldn't have any idea what's involved with that. Can you describe the process? You go in and just tell us right from the start.
We go in, sit down in a big comfy chair, and they have multiple sensory pads. You have them underneath your forearms, you have them underneath your butt, and you have them underneath your feet with your shoes off. You have a sweat gland on one finger. You have a measuring instrument for blood flow that goes in and out of your hand, and you have a cuff on your arm for blood pressure to measure your pulse.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them. Just, it's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof, and your body doesn't know what to do, because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive.
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere? When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
No, that was really when I seen the turning point for it's starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malaya has taken one?
I don't know if I can say, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No. RCMP weren't allowed to tell me I asked.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what.
Wow. Wow. So I think I had heard at some point that she did take a polygraph. I do wonder what the results were. You know? There hasn't been proof that there did. No, not that I know of. Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. Wouldn't she tell him? No, because they're not together. Donnie, she up and left. She up and left. Well, actually, his mother told her to leave. So, Yeah, so they haven't talked, apparently. Yeah. She was blaming him, saying it was his fault that they were gone, that the kids were gone. And his mother owns the property where they were living, and she made her leave. Well, then everybody was saying that she went and sought refuge with her um, tribe, I guess. I don't know. They were some reservation somewhere. And yeah. So I don't know where she's at, what she's doing. No idea. But I do think that their baby, the baby, the 18-month-old, is supposedly in child protective custody since all this went down. So I don't know.
What happened to Lily and Jack?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know that you can share, that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before the disappearance in the afternoon.
Yeah, so they were there. They found out days after, right? Um, the kids were missing. Maybe even weeks after. I can't remember. But I remember they came out, the RCMP came out and said, with a statement that said that the children had been seen on surveillance camera or maybe ring bell camera or something, that the children had been seen the day prior in the evening. So for those people, me included, because I was wondering, well, maybe they had disappeared days before and nobody knew. So that's not true, because they were seen alive and well on the evening before they disappeared. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where that camera came from or where that video evidence comes from, but I don't know if it was a store or a restaurant, a camera somewhere. I don't know, but somebody caught it on camera. I'm assuming would have been a store or a restaurant, but why do I know?
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malaya, and Meadow, and Lily and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So, for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before the disappearance.
Okay.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
So you've heard me say it 5 bazillion times since our second video on the behavior panel. Let's look for what's missing first. And here's why. If you look at this clip again, all of the discussion has been self-centered. He discusses all the details of the case to clarify, not to seek return of the kids. He talks about people wanting to know what happened instead of getting them home. He makes no plea for their return, and no desire is visible on my end for people to help find them. There's no urgency other than his discussion about his own emotions during the polygraph exam. This could be a bunch of hallmarks of having accepted the fact that they might be deceased, but I'm not totally convinced. But I will say there's enough time to go through that grief process, the denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. This is called the Kubler-Ross grief cycle, but there was enough time there. There are a few stress indicators here, and they're here in this clip, but they're not any around guilt questions and responses. And in the ones that are present here, they don't occur in clusters. And not every human's going to spill out behavior that screams the truth. The questions are, and the setting are critically important. And so far, there's no direct line of questioning to get involvement of guilt involved. There is a strong tongue jut again when he says Lily and Jack. So it's the second time that we've seen a strong tongue jut in relation to the mention of these two children. And I'm wondering now if we're seeing a baseline stress response that we need to mentally catalog and keep an eye out for it. But this video, number 3, which is our third video, was my indicator we're probably dealing with somebody who is unique on the neurology spectrum here. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, really, really interesting. Okay, so still very low energy. Feet are still crossed, no change there. There's a great sense of resignation, I would say, in that energy. There's maybe some Nova Scotianness to it as well, but there's a great sense of resignation. Just as you say, Chase, that resignation could be past the whole grief cycle. And also that grief cycle doesn't necessarily show up in the order that it's often described in. You can jump from moments, you can jump back again.
I'm putting it on 1.25, just so you know, because there was something else I wanted to watch with you guys, so I'm wanting to scooch it along here.
You could even have anger with the kids. Of course, it makes no sense to us here because we're not going through the grief. But if you have been through that grief, you can often feel anger towards the victim of a grievous moment. So there's all kinds of things that can happen there that won't seem, from an outside viewer's point of view, you may not be able to work out why would somebody feel this at this moment. Also, Chase, for my money, in order to get round to going, hey, if you see the kids, here's what they look like, and he'd have to go against the line of questioning of this interviewer. And is he the kind of person that would take control of this interview? Like you and I, maybe all of us here, maybe we would, maybe he won't and he doesn't. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Chase, the biggest thing on my mind at the moment is you are wearing a watch that I've not seen you wear before. It's the Omega Swatch Mission to the Moon watch. It's a lovely watch.
How the shit did you know that?
Because that's just, I pick up on these things. And it's a lovely watch. And there are some people out, it's a beautiful watch. There are some people out there who think that Swatch made a bad move, a grievous move doing this. I'm one of the people who think it was a wonderful move that they made. It's a particularly nice watch. I wish I had one myself, but I would love the whole collection.
They've got all the planets, I think, but this was a Father's Day gift.
So, really? Nice. Well, that's why I was going to say, how come I've not seen that before? What an absolutely wonderful Father's Day gift. I can't think of a better Father's Day gift. It's lovely. Lovely. Nice.
Thanks.
Kids, nice watch that you got, Dad. Nice watch. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Good Lord.
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on in this one. I agree with you. And to be able to, even if it's not about the grief cycle, to be able to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, the kids, it's a certain amount of social awareness. I don't think this guy has it. I don't think he's got the to your point, he's not the person that interjects and say, wait a minute, hold on, back off. It's interesting to watch him. That one of the things we know is when a person gets to that point, they got protein in the sides of the mouth, licking their lips is not really a big deal because you constantly want that out of your mouth. It's a weird feeling. If you had gone through it, you'd feel all that stuff building up. It kind of makes you crazy. But the tongue jut is still there. And the tongue jut, when he talks about the children, surely looks like some kind of disapproval or something going like that. when he says they told him you did a good job and you passed, for the first time we see real pleasure. He looks pleased with himself, except for he smiles big, and there's that one little quick up in the left side of his face that makes me think there's some contempt. So if this questioner were a little bit more adept, she could have asked a more complex question and gotten a different answer. Like, did you feel like they were thorough enough? Would you want them to go harder on someone else other than the parents? And you'd get a different answer because he's very literal to this point. There's good eye accessing a couple of times in this, but a really good one when he's asked about Malia and whether she's taken a lie detector or not. We watch his eyes go up to his right and see a little stress and then come back. There's no deception. He comes back and he tells them, yeah, and his whole body is nodding. Well, by the way, when he's pleased about this thing, his whole body is nodding. And then when he's talking about her and when she took the lie detector, it's the same thing. His whole body is nodding. It's really interesting because it's almost childlike in its exuberance of doing well on the poly. Now, whether they told him that or not, maybe he's just a good bullshitter and he got past me and I don't see it. But I don't think so. I think that there's more to this case. When he says that there's more to this case than meets the eye, he also does that same nodding, which makes me think he knows something he's not telling us. He can't tell us. Then she asks about something you know you can share. He goes right back to that same eye accessing point, the same thing he did with Malia, and he looks stressed and he comes back down and he doesn't answer. Then he goes into this is still a missing person case. It hasn't pivoted. That's interesting language. That means he knows that something's bigger than we know. And there's an opportunity to tear that little piece, that little statement to pieces using good questions, slice it and feed it back to him. Why does that matter that it's not still being treated that way? What do you mean by still? 2 kids are missing. What more could there be? Those are 3 questions I would have followed up and would have gotten very literal with him because we know he answered.
Hey, Kayleen. Kayleen said it's hot outside. Hot. Can you hang your laundry outside to dry? Well, I mean, maybe Margaret could hang her laundry outside to dry. Me, on the other hand, it's too humid. I would not be able to hang my clothes out to dry here. They would just stay wet. They would just stay wet. They would not dry. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Staying in where it's cool. Because it is miserable outside. I will give you that. Good to see you.
Answers literal questions really, really well. But then when he's asked where the kids were, he's back to that same IXSQ. He goes for the 3rd time. And associated with the fact he shouldn't say something, he does say it 2 of them. So he doesn't tell us something. He tells us about Malia. He tells us about the fact that the kids were at the location with him. And he goes to the same accessing place. When they're asking him that 3rd time, and he doesn't give us information, it means he's holding something back that he considers valuable. And then we watch him doing the double shoulder shrugs when he's doing the coworker validated kids with him. I think what we're seeing here is he's telling us everything he knows, and he's holding back the one thing that is important that he's been told he can't. This makes me believe him even more, even though I do believe he is, you put it pretty well there, Chase, he's pretty unique neurologically. I think he's not like me neurologically. So asking questions the way that he understands the questions is a powerful tool. And I don't think we see that in this questionnaire. Scott, what do you got?
Okay, you guys have covered most everything, but I'll go over lightly some of the same things, but my take on them. Like we're talking about when he answers that question, you did good, you passed. When he said that, I think that emotion is he's proud. It's almost like he's accomplished something. If you're good at sports and didn't know it, like you made a touchdown or a goal or whatever, I think that's what that looks like. Like he's proud of having done that. So that lets me know he wasn't worried about that in the sense that we would be worried about it. You know, I don't think he was worried about from being thought of as guilty, just that he was going to do well on that test. So that sort of leans toward the neurodivergent situation we've been talking about as well. And after he says the police were aware, when he's talking about the children being seen near the mall, he does this hard lip grip after that. And I think that's him hoping that he didn't say too much, because I agree with you, Greg. He's hiding or he's holding something in. Don't know if he's hiding it, but they've said, don't say anything about this, don't say anything about that, don't say anything about this, for whatever reason. You know, they may not want. There are situations where you don't want to give out information like that, so somebody can make their plan that if they've done something to the kids and they've got, well, here's what I did that day, they won't add. So we went by the mall as well and saw so and so and so and so. Then we went back on this path they were down. Tons of reasons why you wouldn't want to let that information out. So I think he's got some important information, and I think he's holding back. And so that's where I'll leave it there. What are you going to say, Chase? You're going to say something?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
All good.
No,
You passed.
thanks.
When did you find
I don't know. I mean, they really legit. I think they all are in agreement that they believe him. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. What do you all think? Do you all like? Do you feel like the behavior analysis stuff is like a bunch of baloney, or do you believe it like the vast majority of the time they can tell if somebody's innocent or guilty based on their behavior? Or do you think it's kind of like polygraph tests, where it's easy for some people to be able to pass them and or to beat them instead of pass when they're guilty. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know how to feel. I thought for sure he was completely guilty. I don't know. And another thing, I think whenever he said that about, they said that he did a good job, and, you know, we have to remember that, well, first of all, I mean, of course you would smile by saying that they said you did a good job, because to him, in his mind, that that they, um, proves that he, to him, proves that he didn't have anything to do with it. Um, but also, we have to remember, not that he doesn't love them. I'm not going to say that because that's not the case. But what I do want to say is that he is not, and please, Lord, don't let this offend anybody, because that's not what I'm trying to do. But those children are not his biological children. I'm not saying that you can't love your adopted children or stepchildren the same as you would your biological children. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. He cried a lot. Well, I don't know if they were real tears. But I think they were together, 3 years or something? And Lily was 6, so she would have been 3 when they got together. So he probably pretty much did raise them. I don't know, how long they were, if they were ever under the care of their biological dad. I have no idea about that situation at all. But I do feel like when, they talk about the, where's the haste, being in our, like, in a rush to find something out. Where's my kid? Where's my kid? Where's my kid? It's been a long time now. Now that we're 2 months into it. So you would still have some sort of, wanting to be in a hurry, but also it's not like as fresh as it was for him the day that it happened. I don't know. I just feel like maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I can lean one way or the other with the behavior panel on this. I want to believe that he didn't have anything to do with it. But I also don't want to lean into believing that he's completely innocent when he could have indeed been the one to do something, I don't know. From what I know, Billy, the bio dad, I was watching something earlier And they were saying that the bio dad has been like in and out of trouble since like 2020 or 2021. I don't, for what, I don't know, but I know that it was some, I mean, he's been in and out of trouble, is all I know, with the law. I just don't know what for. Oh, fireworks for Kayleen. Nice. It's getting close to that time of the year. Sure, he said, I think he knows more than what he's saying. I just wish that I was a fly on the wall in that polygraph test because, you know, if all the questions were indeed surrounding their death, then if he knows that they're not dead, then obviously he would have passed. Like they were saying, they screwed up on the way that they asked questions and did this whole interview. So if none of the questions were leading into like kidnapping or, you know, something like that, or taking the kids and letting them stay with someone else, if, you know, none of the questions revolved around that, and that's what happened, then of course he would have passed. So I just don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. I do think that the mom knows a lot more. I wonder how his reaction would be when asked about his bio baby with CPS. Yeah, I don't know. And somebody asked earlier, I think it was Gail, had asked if he was allowed like visitation with the baby. I heard early on that he went to see her and they denied him. Like CPS said no. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I have no idea if they're letting him have supervised visits or not. You would think so, but then again, what do I know? All right, let's get back to it.
Find out the result of your test.
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
No, that was really when I seen the turning point for it's starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malaya has taken one?
I don't know if I can say, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No. RCP wouldn't let tell me I asked.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lily and Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know that you can share, that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before the disappearance in the afternoon.
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malaya, and Meadow, and Willie and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do. I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So, for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before the disappearance.
How often are they in touch with you?
Investigators now, I'd say maybe once every 5 days. And usually I'm the one who calls or messages them.
And how's that changed over the course of the 6 weeks?
Well, from the beginning, it was almost daily, tapering off to where it's only like once every 5 days now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good and bad. I mean, I like to talk to them in person about any little small details I come up with or anything I can try to bring to their attention which may help the investigation. So I don't get to see them often, so it's always over phone or messaging, and it's hard to really convey what you want to say when you're not in person. But then I also know the eye's not on me. The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my DPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up, right?
Yeah, I offered everything.
And why were you doing that?
To show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. A lot of speculation is, you killed the kids. We'll just come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama, that's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lily and Jack, and that's been really tough, going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, your family's ripped apart and you're left alone.
Hey, Mary Lou. Hey, Mary Lou, baby, how are you? Mary Lou. Huh? You hate his ankles, Margaret? Really? Yeah, I hate his ankles too. He has skinny ankles. I want skinny ankles. I have cankles, but...
All right, Chase, what do you got?
So there's one thing here, and I'll just do this one thing. His willingness to hand over his phone early in the case and framing it verbally as helping the investigation. That's a strong behavioral indicator of cooperation. And on the surface, that's very good. But I just want you to watch what happens next. He denies killing the children flat out. But the thing here is, no one asked him if he did. And this is where you need to pause and listen with some precision here.
Oh, Mary Lou, sorry. These are the behavior panel guys. They do behavior analysis, and they're very smart men. And they do analysis on different people who may be guilty of certain crimes. And they're talking about the stepdad of those 2 missing kiddos from Nova Scotia that's been missing for a couple months. They're analyzing the stepdad's behavior. That's what we are watching.
Interview and the overall investigation at this stage centers around this disappearance, not confirmed harm, not murder. And he may be borrowing from a suggestion from the polygraph examiner. So when, in other cases, and maybe in this case, when somebody jumps to a murder denial unprompted, it can mean one of 2 things. Number one, they've already reframed the event in their mind, consciously or unconsciously, around death. Or 2, they're answering a question that nobody asked. And that should always, always raise an eyebrow. So now, what didn't he say? What's missing? He didn't follow up with, and I had nothing to do with them disappearing. He didn't touch the core accusation. And that's called strategic denial. In most books, when you're looking through this, it's denying something that's technically true and skipping the thing that's damning. And I've got a cold, if you're wondering why my voice sounds weird right now. But again, this whole interview drifts.
Thanks, Mary Lou. Thank you. Can't wait to get it. She will be beyond thrilled. So, thank you, dear.
Questions are soft. The emotional tone stays calm. And I think somehow in a sit down about 2 missing children, no one asks anything that would make a guilty person sweat. Nobody. And that's the real issue to me here. And truth tellers usually say stuff like, you can ask anyone, or I want to prove I didn't do this. Guilty people usually speak in isolation. I didn't do it. Full stop. And this is called excluding a social frame. Like, go ask Tommy, he was with me or whatever. But I find it bizarre that this is an interview with a person about missing children, and no one is asking about missing children. It's ridiculous to me. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, a couple of really good points for him in here too, though. Let me walk through a
He's
couple of those.
hardcore
He
about
starts off.
that.
He's loosened up.
He's like, Chase is like super mad about how they handled the polygraph test, isn't he? You can tell he's like, I'd like to hear him like talk to the people that performed the test, or the person that performed the polygraph test. I'd like to hear him have a conversation with that person. I think earlier in the video he called them idiots or so. I can't remember. Does anybody else remember? He said the way they did it was idiotic or something to that. It was something similar to that. If that wasn't exactly what he said, it was something very similar to it. Eek. He didn't like that.
Up. If you notice, he's punctuating his brain's thoughts with his head, or illustrating with his head specific words and phrases, as Scott would say. His eyes are accessing to his right, but to a different area than they were before. So earlier it was all visual stuff, and now it's more auditory. As he's answering the questions about, it was once in 5 days. Now, the other piece is, as you pay attention to him, he's got a brow rise, which he doesn't have many, as he says, I'm usually the one that calls them, with the same really quick head nod. Yeah, look, I'm usually the one that calls them. The interesting piece is handing over your phone. I always love the fact people think they hand over their phone and then it's over. No, once you sign that document that says you're giving them access to your phone, that doesn't mean it's over. That means they're going to get what they get and keep checking. So it's interesting that people sometimes will think they've bypassed and then go put more information. There's fear in his face, really good fear. His eyes come back. We says in the beginning it was almost daily. I think he's almost childlike in the way he approaches some of his nonverbal communication. Then he becomes more communicative. His head starts moving around a lot more. And then here's the best thing that happens for him in the entire video series we've seen to now. When he says it was good and bad because I was not being bugged anymore, but they were not getting information, he shows grief in his brow. It's mild, but there is a little horseshoe, a little start of a curve. Not as pronounced as mine is, but I'm not sure he can do that. That's a great, great, great indicator, because it says he cares that they are getting information from him about these children that could change things, which for me is a good, good indicator. Now, up to now, I've said, I think he's neurodivergent some way. I still think that. He does a stressed throat clear as she asks, what do you think? And that's another good one, because he should, maybe this is all building up. Then eye accessing, as he says, the eye is not on me. He drops down to his right and down to his left. What that means is he's having some emotional feelings and some internal voice for what it means, back and forth and back and forth. You might call that looking for change in the floor, the same move. That it is very powerful. And then we see the first real emotion we see in the entire video. To your point, Chase, we don't see a lot of emotion or discussion of people and children, but when he starts to talk about all these children, all 7 members of the family, we do see emotion. That's a good sign. It means he realizes that something has fundamentally changed. Scott, what do you got?
The more and more that they talk, they're not like zoning in on anything. There hasn't been one single thing where they're like, ooh, that's a bad sign. That shows guilt. Not one. Not one thing. There was something else I was going to say, and I don't remember what. Something else I was going to say, and I don't. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. We've talked about this before, but while watching these guys, but what would you do? Let's just say you knew one of these guys on a personal level, right? And you run into them at the store. You run into them at the grocery store. And they're like talking to you, and you're like telling them a story. Do you think that they're analyzing? Do you think that when they get done and walk away from the conversation, they're like, yeah, that dude's a liar. That never happened. You know what I mean? Would they be like that? Or do you think that they're able to turn that off? I don't think that behavior analysis thing is something you can just switch on and off. I think that they analyze everything they hear from everyone they encounter. I don't think that they would be able to help it. Right, Gail? Like, you could never do anything wrong without them knowing. I don't think that they'd be able to switch it on and off. I think it's just ingrained in them. They automatically do it every time they talk to anyone. That's crazy to me.
All right. At first, when he says he's talking to the police a lot, like once a week, or yeah, once every 5 days or something at this point. But I think he says he was talking to him almost every day.
Yep.
I think maybe he was bugging the shit out of him, and they said, "Look, man, let's just do this once a week." Because maybe he was calling for 5. What about this? How it is when there's something like that and somebody's concerned, and they get up in their head and think, "Well, this could happen," and they'll say, "Well, this could happen," and you get this barrage of what could have happened during all that. I think maybe that's what happened. They tried to cool him out by being nice to him at the same time, because I think the minutia of that probably got old to him. Wasting their time, which would make me think they might have knocked him out of the running already. So it could be wrong, but that's what I thought. Maybe they're not. Maybe they aren't looking at this guy anymore. So then when she says, "What do you think about that when you read that?" And about the people saying he did that, we hear him do this little thing with his voice, not a growl, not a clear. It's just this like that. I think that really bothered him. I think the whole idea of that bothers him. I think he's over it. He's just done it so many times, and he wants to say, I hate this and all that, but he's staying calm about it all. Then he eye blocks when he says, I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And this could be two things. It could be one of those things where a lot of people are going to say, well, he closed it. That's eye blocking. So he's lying when he's saying that. Well, you'll eye block when you're saying something or hearing something that you don't want to hear, or something you don't say, or something that bothers you, or something you really don't agree with, like some kind of a joke you're hearing at work. People will block their eyes. If it's a dirty joke and there's people around, you wouldn't want to hear that. So I think this really bothers him. I don't think it's because he's being deceptive. I think it bothers him saying that, and bothers him hearing those things. But at the same time, he's reeling it in and being calm about it and not getting angry. That's what it looks like to me. So instead of being deceptive, I think it bothers him, and he's just not becoming angry about it or getting angry about it on the outside. Then he talks about people have their own opinion, and this is frustration that we see, and we see it all the time. This is with his legs, his arms, his little adapter there, and everything sort of moves at once when he talks about that. So, which is normal, because it's that little spike of, oh, that's uncomfortable for me. So, and then for some reason, he's been separated from the entire family. That part, again, kicks me back into something might be up here. So unless you have a situation where, like you do in narcissism, where the narcissist knocks out all your friends and everybody else in the family against you, maybe it's that kind of thing. I'm not saying his wife's a narcissist, but maybe there's something going on with the wife where she wants to point at him if he didn't do it. If somebody did, I'm not saying she did. I haven't seen her. I haven't seen any videos on her. I don't know anything about her. But maybe that's a situation where the wife is knocking him out of those family situations to separate him and throw blame toward him. I don't know anything about any more than what we've seen in these videos. I'm just surmising something like that might be the reason, because so far I'm not seeing a lot of deception on this guy at all. So I can't imagine why they do that. So we're sort of seeing the combination of behavior and body language of somebody who could be deceptive and somebody who could be innocent. It's almost riding the line there in a lot of ways, for me anyway, when I'm looking at it like that. All right, is that everybody?
No.
Yep.
Mark?
Oh,
yeah. Look, here's the way I see it. I think he's in an interview here, which is all about and focused on him being innocent of murder. It's the way the questioning is going. And you're right, Chase, it should be an interview about 2 missing kids, but it isn't. Everything's focused on, and he's complying with that. He's complying with the frame of this interview. I think you're right, Scott, that he actually gets quite irritated, frustrated, and angry around this idea of, what did you think when you read that you killed the kids? He's angry and he wants this to stop. And I think that's his pleasure in this being over now. From his point of view, it's over that he's in the frame for this, but the interviewer hasn't shifted the frame to, okay, so now we're over with that. Let's what do you think? Where do you think they are? What do you think happened? The frame doesn't shift. Now, Greg, I mean, I've not watched the whole interview. Is it much longer than this? Or
No,
this
there's
is
only
pretty
one
much
other,
it?
only one other interchange I took out about video. That's about it.
Right. So in my view, it's not a great interview because it doesn't set him up in any way. It sets him up to try and argue that he has no guilt. Greg, what you got a thought?
Yeah, I'll tell you that when I talked to Sadie, I watched a very short clip and we covered, and I said, look, I would go and check water because he used some really awkward word patterning even for him. And I would say now, look, if this guy's willing to come on, I'd love for us to talk to him if you come on, because he's showing a whole different vision than he had in that 1 minute little clip.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it from my point of view, this still looks good you're right. What would it look like if the questions were now more pointed towards, okay, so what's happened to them? I think he's frustrated at the whole frame of they've been murdered. I don't know whether he particularly accepts that as the full extent of the possibilities for them. I think it feels like he's gone through grief and has accepted he's unlikely to see them, but I'm not sure he's accepted that they're murdered at this point. Anyway, and that's just conjecture from the information that I see here. Anyway, fascinating.
That's a three-way tie. Well, I don't know, Chase. That landed there at the end. I'll give you that. Nicely done.
How often are they in touch with you?
Investigators now, I'd say maybe once every 5 days. And usually I'm the one who calls or messages them.
And how's that changed over the course of the 6 weeks?
Well, from the beginning, it was almost daily, tapering off to where it's only like once every 5 days now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good and bad. I mean, I like to talk to them in person about any little small details I come up with or anything I can try to bring to their attention, which may help the investigation. So I don't get to see them often, so it's always over phone or messaging, and it's hard to really convey what you want to say when you're not in person. But then I also know the eye's not on me. The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I've already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my GPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up right
Yeah,
from the
I offered
beginning.
everything.
And why were you doing that?
To show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. A lot of speculation is, you killed the kids. We'll just come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama. That's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lily and Jack. And that's been really tough, going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, your families rip apart and you're left alone.
I think this is one of the most interesting ones we've done so far. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree, because I walk away from this going, okay, not a lot to see here. I think the guy's fine. I think it's okay. But the interview is not a great one. Okay, so I'd like to see more, with more focus on more focus on a lot of the stuff we talked about, but especially from my point of view, like, what do you think happened then? What do you think happened? Because we know you don't think it was you, and we know that you think there's a lot of evidence that says it's nothing to do with you. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so then what happened? It would be my line of thinking and questioning. Chase, what do you think?
Yeah. A lot of children go missing, and God bless these kids. Hope they're okay and safe somewhere. But we have somehow normalized child disappearances when they happen at scale. And there's thousands per year there. And we've taught ourselves, maybe don't look too closely. And we hear agencies kind of hide behind the no evidence of abduction thing. And we kind of keep strolling. So there's a couple of things I just want to share here as a PSA. Unusual signs of trafficking that you will never hear anywhere else. The first one is unusual language for their age. Phrases that you hear are like, I'm not allowed to say, or we just moved here, in kind of a robotic tone. It sounds really scripted. That's a big one. And if you hear visible hesitation when they're offered simple choices, like if you ask, do you want chocolate or vanilla? And they have confusion and they look up at somebody that they're with, a lack of agency bleeds into the small stuff. And that's what you're seeing here. And finally, just perfect behavior and dead eyes. Like all the behavior looks normal, but the eyes are hollow or dead. And actually, I'll give you one question that you can ask. If you're ever curious to unlock the truth of one of these people, hey, what's your teacher's name? That's it. No threat, no pressure, just a question that every kid can answer in 1 second, unless they can't. And if they can, if they pause, they look confused, or they glance at an adult for some kind of guidance, that's a big deal. And this one's quiet enough to be safe, and I think it's sharp enough to break that wall. And we need better tools and better instincts for this kind of stuff. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, Chase, brilliant. One question. That's a brilliant thing to remember when you're dealing with children, because
I would have never thought about that. That's pretty cool. What's your teacher's name?
That is a big part of their life. So a couple of things.
Hmm.
Marginalized people behave in marginal ways. And this guy's pretty marginalized. Look at how he's living. Look at that. I don't know what he does for a living. Add to that this whole complexity of what I think is a neurodivergent personality. So how he responds to authority, how he responds in any situation is going to be different maybe than yours would be. And you have to adjust to that when you're questioning. Part of the problem we see here is this is a straight line question that now is making it about him being the murderer, to your point. Mark, whether he believes they're murdered, even if he does believe they're murdered, if he doesn't believe he's the guy, that creates a whole new grief cycle and all of those things. And, we can only see what we can see. Again, I would love, Mr. Martell, you're welcome to come. We'll talk to you. We'll grill the hell out of you. When you leave us, people will believe you if you're telling the truth. If not, it's not a good choice to come on. But what I would say is this guy accessed information consistently 3 times and then only divulged twice and said, I don't think I can answer that. That's consistency. And then look at that grief muscle pop when he says it's good and bad. There would be no grief muscle if I'm allowed to get away from the cops and I hurt these children. So I think it's a really powerful telling thing. And I think I'll look forward to seeing more from him, because if he gets in front of the camera more and gets asked the hard questions, it should help him and maybe help find these children. These are babies. Scott, what do you got?
And since we're talking about trafficking, it could be a child or it could be a girl who's almost an adult, or a boy at the same time. And there's a sign you can look for if they're aware of this sign. And if you see somebody take their thumb and put it right there, then cover their hand with it like that, and they may do it 2 or 3 times. It may be behind their back. It may be in the front. They may be sitting there. They may be in a car, and you drive by and you'll see that. That's when you call the cops right then. Don't mess around, because something's up. That's the international sign for I need help. So don't forget, it's just this here. This thumb goes on the inside. And if you're somebody young watching this and you have a problem, do that. You do the same thing, and that'll get you up as quick as it can get to you. That's the sign everybody should know. We should make everybody aware of. All right, fellas, thanks. Is another good one, and we'll see
I love that they did that. I love that Scott did that. That's pretty cool. I love that.
you next time.
All right. Okay. Now, hold on a minute. So there's this video by Deception Detective. I've not watched this either. I want to see. Um, Hold on. Let's look. I want to see what he has to say. Because I think that Deception Detective believes that Daniel Martell is guilty of something. But let me share this. Okay. Let's watch this real quick. It's only about 10 minutes.
From the last news release that you issued. These are the reason I'm asking these questions. I read that news release and I thought, I don't think they have any idea what happened here.
When it comes to missing people, it's very complex. It can be very long-term investigations. It can be difficult on first responders, especially when it involves vulnerable people. And we have to be patient, and we have to follow the leads and follow the facts and evidence that we gather to bring us to locating the children.
Does the RCMP think Lily and Jack could still be alive?
That's an update from Canadian police about missing Nova Scotian preschoolers Lily and Jack Sullivan. But don't let the apparent lack of leads fool you. I actually think they know what they're doing. So in today's video, let's watch this update together and I'll show you why. I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe. For exclusives and other cool perks, join the channel. Link in description. If you're not familiar with this case, don't worry, because the interview itself will bring you up to speed. So there's just one last thing I want to say before we grab our deception decks and start watching. Whether a suspect is innocent or guilty, they want to be believed. But only the guilty party has to withhold information, even if it's just the 1% of their story that's incriminating. And the police can use that against them if they handle their evidence wisely. That will make more sense very soon. Without further ado, let's watch.
To be clear, we don't have evidence to suggest that an abduction took place at this time.
Is it something you're still investigating, whether or not they could have been abducted?
So we're exploring all investigative avenues. So on the morning of May 2nd, approximately 10 a.m., RCMP officers received a call about 2 missing children in Lansdowne Station. The information at the time was that they wandered off away from the property. And I can tell you that our officers got at the scene very quickly, and we were monitoring the situation and hopefully finding the children very soon after that.
So it's very quickly. Officers arrive, and then what? You expected, it sounds like you're saying that you'd find the children quickly, or hoped you would anyways. That didn't happen.
So Kayla, what I can tell you, from experience, you look at missing children. I've been involved with a handful of cases since I've been with Strategic Communications. Most oftentimes, the children are located very quickly after officers arrive at the scene, right? And that's our hope every single time, that they wandered off and you can find the children. Because I'm sure, like every officer out there, I'm not on the road currently, but your heart is pounding, the adrenaline is rushing, you're trying to find those children, right?
This case started just like that?
That's
what you're
correct.
describing, you thought you'd go there, find them very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And our officers were nearby in an ongoing search for a kayaker that had gone missing the day prior. I can tell you I was monitoring the situation remotely, and our officers, I could tell they were getting there as quickly as possible.
There are some, as you are aware, many theories out there. Some people think, well, maybe it's really just a tragic accident. Maybe they just wandered off into the woods. But you've said that it's suspicious. So at the very least, why does the RCMP view this case as suspicious?
So every missing persons investigation is suspicious until it's proven that it's not. If we don't have that information to say that it's not suspicious, we have to continue to assume that it is suspicious and access those resources and tools and follow up those tips and find that evidence until we find the people that are missing.
As I said in the intro, only an innocent suspect can be totally candid with the police. A guilty suspect really only has to reveal enough to appear cooperative and explain away anything suspicious the police might find. So if the police keep them posted and update them whenever they find anything and tell them what they think of it, the guilty suspect can simply adjust their story just enough to explain it so that everything lines up. But what if the police don't do that? What if they don't reveal everything they find right away? What if the police let the suspect tell their story and then hit them with contradictory evidence? Well, now things change. If the suspect is quick enough, maybe they can come up with a plausible explanation for why they omitted that from their story earlier. But that's unlikely, especially if they have a co-conspirator who might not give the same explanation that they do if they're separated from each other. But what if the police don't even want to take that risk? What if they want to catch the suspect dead to rights in a lie? Well, that requires one more layer of strategy, and I think that's what's going on here. Listen to this next part, and then I'll explain.
So you don't think they were abducted, but you can't find them. How do 2 young children just vanish?
That's a great question, Kayla. And we are asking for the public for tips and information. And to date, we've received close to 500 tips. So we have to follow up on those tips, right? Whether it's a tip that indicates that there could be something that happened elsewhere in the province, elsewhere in the country, we have to follow up on those investigative tips to rule them out. And to this date, we haven't had any confirmed sightings.
But there have been tips that lead you to other parts of the country that you had to check.
As with any investigation, oftentimes we do get tips that you have to verify that are elsewhere, yes.
You have said that the children were last seen alive the day before. Can you tell me about the nature of that?
So we know they were seen in public with loved ones the day prior. The specifics aren't being released at this time.
Okay, and so that's the day before, so that's May 1st, but you've specifically asked for video back to April 28th. What's the reason for that?
When you establish a timeline for any investigation, you want to know where these individuals were prior. They may have been in contact with someone that you want to know who that person is. You may see something on that footage that you didn't know about prior to that. We talked about license plates earlier and seeing them from a different angle. You might see someone that's known elsewhere. Maybe it's someone that's known to police. You never know. We really are seeking all investigative avenues in this case.
There have been some complaints that an Amber Alert was not issued. I understand that the criteria is very specific. Was that considered? Is it still possible?
Absolutely, Kayla. On the day of the incident, I can tell you I was working. I reviewed the policy that morning. We have to have a suspect or a person of interest when it comes to abduction or a vehicle. In terms of sending out an alert, when you send an Amber Alert, you want to direct the public to look for a specific vehicle, to look for that license plate, to look for that suspicious person to have a photo of someone or more information to suggest that there was an abduction. In this case, they are young children, certainly vulnerable people, and a vulnerable person alert was issued.
If you're not aware, the strategy we're going over in this video has a name. It's called the Sue technique. It's not just for police. You can use it too if you have someone who you suspect is a hoaxer. We already covered stage 1. Get a statement from the suspect without revealing your suspicions or any evidence you might have. That locks them into their story, and if any evidence or future retellings contradict it, they'll either have to explain that or be treated as hostile. Based on that last...
Hey, Miss King. Hi, you. Glad to see you.
clip, I think the RCMP is now on stage 2. That's where they suggest to the suspect that they might have some evidence that the suspect omitted something from their story without revealing the source or the specificity of that evidence. This puts the suspect into a deeper dilemma than just confronting them with the evidence right off the bat, because now they don't know exactly what the police have, so they can't update their story to perfectly match it. In this case, the officer suggested that they know the family was out in town the day before the kids were reported missing, but he didn't reveal exactly how they know that. Was it on some grainy CCTV footage, or was it high-res CCTV footage where we could see their faces and maybe anyone they were with, and maybe what they purchased? If the circumstances around that outing are related to the disappearance and the parents are guilty, they'll have to be asking themselves, do they know what we bought? If they bought a burlap sack and a shovel, do they need to address that now and try to explain it away? Or do they keep omitting it? Likewise, the police suggested that they might have some interesting video of cars in the area days before the disappearance. Again, if that's related to the disappearance and the parents are guilty, they need to be asking themselves these questions. Do they know who the car belongs to? Do they know how that person's connected to us? If they drove somewhere incriminating, do they need to go ahead and try to get ahead of that right now and admit it to the police? Or do they continue omitting it? Either option is a gamble. You're either revealing too much and risking a contradiction, or not revealing enough and appearing obviously not cooperative. I'll go over the third stage the next time I pause, but for now, just listen to how tight-lipped this officer is. If they're using the Sue technique, this is exactly how it needs to be done.
Does the RCMP know what happened here? Even if you can't tell me, do you know?
Miss King says she's late. Well, we've been on for what, 2 hours and 20 minutes, according to my little timer in the corner of my screen. But we went through the, almost a deception detective. That's what we're watching now. The behavior panel, when they were analyzing Daniel Martell. And then we finished it. It was about 1 hour and 20 minutes long. And then we just switched over to Deception Detective, and I wanted to watch this little video of his. And then that was going to be it. I'll be getting off soon. I haven't had dinner yet. I did have some trail mix. I had some trail mix. That was my snacky snack from the $25 million tree.
No.
So what I can tell you is that we're exploring all
Allegedly.
investigative avenues.
Do you have a case? Are you building a specific case that's leading you in a certain direction?
In this case, the investigation is still being investigated under the Missing Persons Act.
It sort of seems from the last news release that you issued. These are the reason I'm asking these questions. I read that news release and I thought, I don't think they have any idea what happened here.
You know, when it comes to missing people, it's very complex. It can be very long-term investigations. It can be difficult on first responders, especially when it involves vulnerable people. And we have to be patient, and we have to follow the leads and follow the facts and evidence that we gather to bring us to locating the children.
Does the RCMP think Lily and Jack could still be alive?
That's a great question, and we want to locate them and find them. And our goal is to investigate every single avenue until we find them.
Is it possible at this point?
That's a great question, and our role is to find them in the evidence surrounding their disappearance.
You mentioned a lot of the tips you're getting. I'm sure you're aware there's extraordinary public interest in this case. Some people are frustrated that the RCMP is not saying more. I understand it's an active investigation. And in some cases, the lack of information leads to speculation, and rumors are rampant online, and that's done some harm on the family in this case as well. What, though, would you say to the public who are begging for answers and just want to know what's happened here?
we have to be patient and certainly rely on our news releases and official sources of information. Don't listen to those rumors that are out there. We're putting out those news releases on a regular basis with information pertaining to the investigation. We have to be very cautious as to what type of information we release because we want to make sure that it doesn't affect the investigation.
I think some people in the public are starting to wonder, is it possible that we may never find out what happened to Lily and Jack? Is that possible?
I wouldn't be able to answer you that question today, but I can tell you that our investigators are seasoned.
The last stage of the Sue technique, you confront the liar with their lies. And in a case like this, where there's two co-conspirators, you make it very clear to them that their best option at that point is to turn on their co-conspirator. If you want more technique videos like this, let me know by liking, commenting, and sharing. Check the end card for my video about interrogation technique. Until next time, stay true.
So I don't know what to make of him. The deception detective is, I don't know. Like, the title of that video was "It's Finally Happening." I think he's a smidgen on the clickbaity stuff. Like, I don't know. Anyway, but I do like him. I like him a lot. But that was kind of a dud. I didn't know what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be something good, but meh. Do you like my allegedly sign? Allegedly. What a strange case, but my mind is all messed up after Karen Reed. I know. Yes, Margaret, 40,000 sunflower seeds, 10 raisins, and 2 M&Ms. Rip out trail mix. Just looked up the size of Nova Scotia. It's the size of Mass, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island together. Okay. Okay. I don't know how big it is. Yeah, I have no idea. Allegedly. I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put it in a... Oh, my things are over there. My sheet protectors. Yeah, I have sheet protectors. Draw it darker and attach a stick and use it during stream. Allegedly. Allegedly. Grounds. Allegedly. I know, I should do that. Put it on a stick. Oh, it makes me think of that character. Who's that character that always says, on a stick? Grounds. 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 Hold on. I'm looking for it. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Grounds. 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 Alright, you guys. My right eyeball is... My eyes are starting to burn. They're getting tired. And, I'm gonna scooch out of here. I'm gonna grab something to eat, too, because I'm hungry. And, I thought I smelled fried chicken. I actually sent Dale a text message earlier, and I was like, do I smell fried chicken? And he didn't answer me for the longest time, and then finally he answered me, and he said, yeah, KFC. And I was like, what? When did you get KFC? Jeff Dunham puppet. Okay. Jose Jalapeno. Okay. My new favorite word is egregious. Right. Mine is nefarious. I like that word. Thank you for being on tonight despite the debate over my pants. I am hungry, Donnie. Yeah, I haven't had dinner. but I got up when he said that about KFC. I had the camera off for a minute, and I jumped up and I ran out because I could literally swear I could smell fried chicken, and I on a steak, yeah, on a steak. You just finished with pizza? We had pizza last night. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, and I got up and I opened the door to see if he really got KFC, and he was sitting in my recliner in there. And I was like, "Did you really get KFC?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Well, then why do I smell KFC?" He said, "'Cause your smeller's messed up." I said, "Well, what did you fix?" And he said, "Hot dogs." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't smell fried chicken then, but I could have sworn something smelled so good. I was like, that smells like fried chicken." So now I'm probably going to go eat cold pizza out of the refrigerator. That'll probably be my dinner because I don't know if that I want hot dogs. But I will. Oh, and he made her some. There's a brand from Walmart called Banza, and it's a gluten-free pasta. They've got all different kinds of pastas, right? But it's called Banza, like Tony Danza, but Banza with a B. And it's an orange box, and she loves that stuff. It's made out of chickpeas. The pasta is made out of chickpeas. She loves it. Brain was playing a trick. It definitely was, right? I mean, what about hot dog smells like fried chicken? Nothing. No. You have seen it, Miss King? Well, she loves it. Okay? She loves it. And he makes homemade macaroni and cheese all the time. The easiest peasiest thing, all he does is use, like, we don't buy the cheese product, like cheese slices. We buy the deluxe pasteurized cheese, right? So, anyway, he just uses that and milk. That's all he does. No, it's it, and it's so good. But you have to use a lot of cheese, right, for it to be nice and cheesy. But anyway, he came home yesterday with a brand of gluten-free spirals, and it was called Goodles. Goodles? Something like that. And the box is pink. So she thinks she's all that because she gets a pink box of macaroni for her macaroni and cheese. Pink and orange, She thinks she's all that in a bag of chips. She is all that in a bag of chips. But she knows she is, right? She's so funny. She's so funny. Now you want cheese? I love cheese. Goodles is good. Okay. I don't know that he's made that one yet. I don't know if he's, because we had like 2 boxes of the Banza. She really likes that. So, have a great night. It was wonderful seeing. It was great to see you too, Brenda. Brenda Mama B diamond drilling. Maybe Banza is fab. She likes that one. That's the first one we tried that was gluten-free, like macaroni. But the first brand of spaghetti that we bought was, I think, Barilla gluten-free. I did buy a box of the Banza spaghetti, but I don't think that he's made that yet. So I want to try chickpea pasta. I bet it's good. It is pretty good. It tastes good. The only difference is the texture is not as firm. You know what I mean? like, it's not as, it kind of like, it's not as firm as just regular pasta, you know. But it cooks up good and it tastes good. I mean, it don't really taste any different. It's just got a teeny bit of a different kind of texture, but she's fine with it. She loves it. Yeah, throw a big old spaghetti sauce on it and it can be, yeah. And it's another thing too, Margaret, about that is the chickpea pasta has a lot of protein in it. Limp. I don't know if I would even call it that. I don't know, Spins. How would you describe the texture of it once it's cooked? Stop with a limp. I don't know. That elephant keeps up, he'll be limping, won't he? Unless Margaret hurries up and makes that elephant some pants. But yeah, I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say limp, but it definitely, I don't know. This is a family show. Don't say limp. Okay. I won't say limp anymore. Spins will say it for me. Limp, 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 limp. All right. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go because I'm getting hungry. It's not hungry, hippo. It's hungry, limpy elephant. Limp, 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 limp. Everybody is banned from YouTube. All right, I'm going to put my other CNI glasses on top of my other CNI glasses, and I'm going to get out of here and go figure out what's for dinner. I love you all. We did not get banned on 6/27/25. No, ma'am. Nope. You have a good night too, Gail. I love you. I'll see you all probably maybe on Monday. Don't hold me to it. I'm not sure yet. It depends. More than anything, I'm just excited that Brian Koberger's trial is not going to be delayed. I'm so excited for that. Oh, and side note, I did go get blood work today, and I already got my blood work test results back for my thyroid level, and my thyroid level is still high. So they're going to have to bump my medicine again. But it's much better than it was the last time I went because they doubled my dosage, which I knew that they were going to have to do. So I would say that the doctor's probably going to give me another 20, 25 milligrams or whatever of levothyroxine. That's my guess. We'll see. But Spins is in timeout. We'll be stalking Gail. As long as you got your notifications turned on, you should get a notification. But yeah. Spin says, no, I'm not. All right. I love you guys. I might see you on Monday. If not, then it'll be Tuesday, okay? We will see. I'll be sure to try to schedule it early enough so that you get that good notification at least 30 minutes prior, so. I love y'all, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. Okay? Bye, guys.